Thing I want to do is I want to clean this off the best that I can. Get them cleaned off. I want to take this one, blow off the inside, blow everything I can off on the inside. There's a lot of shit that fills up inside of here. The cleaner your tools are, the better they're going to run. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll take this with my finger, some of this grease, reapply it back to this tool. These tools have to stay lubricated when they're sliding back and forth through the stripper plate. It's got to stay lubricated. If they don't, they'll seize up on you eventually, and you won't be able to pull these apart. So now I line the pins up, get the sleeve. It's not going to go in like that. You got to get it lined up in there. Okay. Oh, I forgot one thing. Sorry. Pull it back out. We need to take a measurement right here. Okay. So right here, my A and my B station. Okay. Your A's are these really small ones. Your B is the next size up. It's going to be your next one, the one that we just ground. Okay. Your C's are the next size up. Your D is the next size up, and then your E is the next size up, the final size. Okay?
So A's the smallest, E's the biggest.
So A's we've got a shit ton of. B's we only have a few areas that B's can go, and then I think on the C's you've got 4 of them. The D's you've got either 4 or 2, and then the E's you only have 2 spots to put those. Okay. But they progressively get bigger and bigger. A and B's, A's are small, B's are medium, C's are next size, next size, next size up. Okay. These are all top die dimensions, what they have to be when you insert them in. So what I got to do is measure. I got to be 8.170. Now that is from where the ram's going to strike to the bottom of the bottom of the tooling. Okay. That is not with the stripper plate on. You don't ever want to put the stripper plate on and measure. Okay. That is just this right here. So we're calling 8.170 and I'm 8.2. I can leave them there. I can be all the way up to 8.220 and still have it work. Okay.
So I have 50 thousandths?
Still got, yeah, roughly 50 thousandths that you can go. Now, depending on how fast you're running, and I've never had this happen to me before, if you're, let's say you were 200 thousandths big and you're running that machine on high speed, this die could hang up in the tooling. It didn't have enough time to get out before the machine started moving. And so it would hang up and it would snap it. So you don't want to be too high, but you don't want to be too low either. You don't want to be lower than what it tells you. If anything, you want to be 10, 20 thousandths higher than what it tells you. Okay. If you still are higher and you still have slugs that are hanging up, then you either need to get, it's called a slug ejector. You'd have to get a die that holds a slug ejector. It's a hard piece of rubber that sticks out at the end of this, and it helps shove the slugs down into the die. Or you need to get a slug hugger die. It's a die that hugs the slugs, pretty much. So it's got very minute tabbings on the edges that'll hold onto those slugs as they're being pushed in. It's really hard for them to pop back out. So once we have our top die set,
how would I adjust the die if it's not the right height?
Okay, so in here. For the A ones, this guy needs to be put in, and then your A would go down inside there and you would tighten it, okay? On a lot of the A's, you can just grab it with this vise thing and loosen it to do it. On some of the B's, you have to loosen some type of Allen that's keeping it locked in. Some of them might have a couple Allens in there that you got to loosen that lock them in. Once you get the plate free, then you can loosen it to adjust for your height.
Okay.
Once you get your height set, you relock everything back down. So with this guy right here, if I wanted to adjust him, I would take that out and I would just slide this in. Now, this guy works weird. You can put him in and then part way down, he allows you to turn and then come back up. I haven't used it forever, but there's a way to lock him in to where he doesn't want to drop. I'm not gonna worry about it though. I'm not gonna do it. So all I do is slide him in part way, tighten him down, get my Allen that I need to loosen him, and then to get a higher, you want to loosen this to make the die higher. You want to tighten it to make it longer. Okay. Tighten it to make it shorter, loosen it to make it longer. Sorry about that.
Okay.
So we don't need to adjust them, but that's how you would adjust it. If you've got to go to these bigger dies, they would fit down inside here. Okay, you would fit them down inside one of these. The A's and B's work here. The C, D, and E will fit in here to loosen or tighten. Okay.
Okay.
If you've got tooling that you need to hyphen, but it's the stripper part, the stripper die is the actual tooling, it would fit down inside these ones right here, where the stripper plate doesn't ever get removed. It's a part of the tooling. It would sit down in these slots right here. Okay. Now I pop them back in. So if you notice, we got a really big gap right there. We got the tooling and then there's a really big gap from the stripper plate. The ideal die is for that die to be flush with that stripper plate. Okay. There's pieces that you can get after you have to take this whole thing apart, and there's a piece that goes down inside that sits on this. Okay. You would then put it all together, and it would force this tool up a little bit higher, keeping the same height, but it would force it up a little bit higher. Okay. The ideal thing is to have that as flush to that stripper plate as possible. Okay.
Okay.
So top die is done. Bottom dies. There's only one size for anything that's punching. Okay. If you're forming, it's whatever they sent you the tooling as. Usually like burst dies, forming dies, they all come in at different heights. But anything that's punching, 1.180 is the magic number. We want to be 1.180. I'm 1.163.
There's a shim and the punch right now.
I want to get as close to 1.180 as possible. If I start going higher, then you're turning the punch now into a brake press. Every time it's hitting, it's slowly bending the part. The part is slowly going to start warping and bending. And by the time you're done, it is warped so bad it's hanging up in the machine. Even if you're not punching with that die and there's a die to the side that is higher, it'll still do the same effect. So if you've got a burst die in and it's really close to what you're punching, you might want to pull that burst die out so he's not in the way, because he can cause the material to bow as it's punching. This one right here was a burst die. I pulled him out because he was going to start interfering with this punching. So that bottom die is no longer in there. He's set aside. I'm not going to use him until he needs to be used, but he was a burst die. I pulled him out of the way so we don't have that problem. Let's see. Can't get him out. There he is. Okay. So your shims, if ever you have to do new shims, you want to use some type of hardened stainless or hardened steel. If you use soft material, every time that this punches and it starts squashing, it'll start squashing that material and spreading it, and it'll get to the point where you won't be able to pop this out of the machine. It'll just be seized up in there. Okay, and it's a bitch to get it out after that. So you want to use something hardened. That's about as hard as this. This is tool hardened. This is tool hardened, or spring steel. So something that is harder than normal. With that shim on there, then I measure where I'm at. So I'm still only 1.176. I want to get a little bit more out of them. So I'm going to go to the next thickness up that we have. These ones are all the same. I usually just take a pile of them. I look down the side and I find one. It'd be this guy right here. $1.189. Okay, I'm only 9 thousandths more.
What is the absolute biggest that could be?
Well, let's say like I went with one of these big ones and threw him on. 1.220, that's way too much. He's gonna sit way too high. I would try to stay within like 10 thousandths. Over, but never 10 thousandths under.
You have to meet minimum of 1.180.
Yeah, and sometimes you might have to double up like these small ones, these really thin ones, to get what you want. That one's too much. These ones are 14 thousandths thick. So you might want to look at getting some stuff that's 20. This is 028. If we had one that was 20 thousandths thick, this guy would be right on the money. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But 9 thousandths big, that's not bad. So he's now going to be this one. And then which way did it go? The key to the left?
It's keyed at 0.
Keyed at 0.
You don't have to load it.
Okay.